Hello again, everybody. Thank you for joining. So this is a second seminar for today presentation. Actually, it's a virtual tour. We'll connect with our friend from United States. His nickname on the demo scene is Inverseface. Inverseface is a long-time demo scener. He's also co-organizer of the demo parties in the United States. He's founder of the MacFest, which is not like a demo party, but it is this kind of event which is closely related to chiptune music. Huge event, like 30,000 people having fun. Recently, he opened a computer museum, which is called Bloop Museum, because it's not only about the computers and vintage hardware, but also about games and stuff. I asked you to join because there's like a lot of fantastic stuff that is over there. The computers that you might have never seen because they were not available here in Europe, here in Poland. So, and Inverseface is kind of like an expert on that. One more thing, the microphone will be passed to you. If you have any questions, then you will be able to ask them. So please welcome Inverseface.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Yeah, there we go. Feel free to make noise or interrupt at any time, but I am informed that we have only an hour and my tour is 6 hours long, so we're going to try and pack this into 1 hour. If you have any questions or you would like a more personal tour, or if you just want to see something up close or something like that, then flag down your favorite demo party organizer and they can ask. And if you have any questions that maybe would take us past the tour, then I am hanging out on the demo party Discord. You can ask me questions there afterwards. I'm tuned into the party and watching the live stream with everyone else. So anyway, why don't we get started? I thought that maybe the most important thing to start with would be a whole bunch of consoles. I could have started with, an Atari or a Commodore 64, but I think we're going to do this backwards. We usually start with an abacus and teach people the origins of calculation in computers, but you can't write a demo for that. Well, maybe you can. Someone will prove me wrong soon. But I have my childhood video game collection on display here. We have many consoles spanning from the Pong and the Fairchild and the Odyssey 2 and Arcadia to several, well, we do have some Atari consoles. How about something like that? Or the Atari XE, because the Atari 800 can too be a game system. 7800, 5200, 2600. We can go down to after Atari and look at the Intellivision or the Vectrex, Gemini, ColecoVision. This is an interesting one. This is the Telegames Dina or 2-in-1 or Personal Arcade, which is both a ColecoVision and a Sega SG-1000, which is the Sega Master System in Japan. TurboGrafx 16, also known as PC Engine, that didn't really get a Europe release. It sort of did, and I have a PAL unit, but maybe you haven't seen one of those. I have a Nintendo Row that has some odd imposters or intruders. You might notice that what's a Sony PlayStation doing in the Nintendo Row? Does someone perhaps in the audience know the answer while I show you my Sega stuff? Also, I have no idea. I know the system works. I have no idea how it will look over Google Meet, but Is something wrong with my CRT or... Active 3D on the Sega Master System. Pretty cool. Oops, sorry. Also next to the game systems, I have various telephony and interesting things. You guys have probably seen stuff like this more than we have, but I love showing people in the States things like Minitel terminals, or this Angel Note is to access the Japanese iteration of Minitel NTT data. We also have, anyone use one of these back in the day? Some pretty cool modems, including a 300 baud modem with a little sewing kit to repair it. That's one of my favorites. Also, it doesn't close very well. There we go. Also, if you look at the back of it, sorry, PC versus Amiga war people, this modem only supports business machines. Underneath is pretty cool. Also, an early 80s modem that would do limited distance, probably the equivalent of ISDN. I think this thing can do like 19.2 under it, which is pretty cool. Some interesting devices and old devices, and some of this maybe not quite so impressive. However, I love showing people. Sure, yeah.
Okay, just while we're still here in the same room, what was the answer about the PlayStation thingy being in the same row as the Nintendo?
So, when did you first see a Mega Drive in Poland? Never?
Officially never.
Okay, so in Japan, the Mega Drive came out in 1988, and in the US, the Mega Drive came out in 1989 as the Sega Genesis. Here, why don't I go back over here since we're only footsteps away. So we need to go back in time a little bit further, because here's an NES that certainly people have seen before. And here's the Master System that we saw in Japan. Both of these came out on the very same day in 1983, and Sega and Nintendo became rivals forever. It turns out the first year, the Sega Master System outsold the Nintendo or the Famicom 3-1, which is an unbelievable figure to most people, because we know how it turned out. You know, Nintendo won the war. But what happened is Sega beat Nintendo to the first 16-bit system. And Nintendo was busy kind of twiddling their thumbs, but also working on something cool, which was they made friends with this guy named Ken that said, hey, why don't we put a pretty awesome sound chip in here that's going to be way better than anyone else has heard and can do at least 8 samples simultaneously. Twice as good as an Amiga, right? So this sound chip bolts a 6502 core along with some other things to an 8-channel DSP. And they take the world by storm, even though they release 2 years later. So we go back to Sega, and they've said, hey, Nintendo has this CD quality sound. How are we going to compete? And they release this guy right here, or this right here. So now we can plug a CD-ROM into our Sega Genesis, and Nintendo says, hey, we want that. Oh, wait, we don't have a CD-ROM drive. Maybe if we call up our friend Ken, he'll show us how we can hook a CD-ROM up to our Super Nintendo. Well, this is like a Black Ops project, very secret, at Sony and Nintendo. And Sony says, well, we've designed a console with a cartridge slot on the back, but a CD on the front, and you can just do either or. It'll be great. But Nintendo wanted to move into the future, and this unit was produced by Sony, and they just wanted an add-on so they could continue to sell Super Nintendos. So they told Sony to take a hike and remove all of the Nintendo stuff out of the console, and Sony did. Ta-da! So that is the story of the Sony PlayStation, which was once a Nintendo PlayStation. If you search, there is actually a prototype of the Nintendo PlayStation that is still out there. It was supposed to be destroyed, but someone actually ended up with it, and I think it sold for $300,000 or something like that last year.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I was going to show someone this. You probably think this is a printer, but you would be wrong, because there's no printer inside.
What is it?
This you plop on top of a line printer or a dot matrix printer, and its only job is to take the tractor feed off of your dot matrix printer paper. And you're thinking,
High tech.
who would possibly want one of these? Well, it turns out if a bank has to print thousands of checks a day, they don't possibly want to hire someone that will have to take that tractor feed off all day. Except that, here's the funny part. Just a couple days ago, I gave a tour to someone that actually did have to take tractor feed off of paper at a bank.
What was his paycheck?
That is a very good question. I think he did other things. But he was probably making something like, minimum wage, which, gosh, in 1982, I don't know how much that would have been. But that's a really good question. But it probably would have been, a rather bad job, like flipping burgers at McDonald's or working the cash register. I'm going to show you the mess that we're not supposed to show people, because I think there are some cool mini computers in here, and I want someone at the party to write a demo for one of these. All right?
Are these the machines from War Games?
No, but I do have that. Here, let's take a walk.
That's perfect.
Here's something that sort of looks like the Whopper. This is actually an IBM machine. Wire wrap. Has anyone ever done wire wrap? It's not fun. You might consider it fun if you're old. This is a System 360 and also various card stuff. So if you want to write a demo on punch cards, we can help you. And if you drop your stack of punch cards, you can sort it with this guy. Do we have any Mac people in the audience? We have the highest resolution iMac. Any Unix fans? We have a TTY, which is actually a TTY. But we can go even older. Here's a TTY with no electronic parts.
Do the Nazis use it?
Entirely possible, but these were mostly... Actually, well, you'd have to look up the Teletype Corporation.
It was 50s.
Yeah, the teletype is pretty old. Actually, I have. If I take you over to the messy zone,
Do you say there was no
I
Nazis
can show
in
you.
the 50s?
yeah, we didn't have any of those over here yet. But I can show you an extremely old teletype that is perhaps in not the best of shape. This is before it was just a teletype, and it was a teletype setter. The origin of the teletype is just that it would be a telegraph that you could type. Hence the name. We also have some analog machines. And I can take us over to, we have also some word processing. This could be a bad joke, but has anyone ever heard of this? Yes. So Wang invented something. This was a guy that worked for IBM and eventually started his own computer company because he just didn't like the way things were going at IBM. But perhaps most interestingly, Wang machines invented function keys. So the reason you have F keys on your computer now probably is because of one of these. Pretty cool machines. We also have the LEAD 2.5 word processor, which is a very excellent device. Oh, and a copy of Lotus Jazz, just in case, you know. I have a laser jet over here. Works pretty well. What? This guy, I think it does about, a few pages per minute. Oh, we might actually need some paper, PC load letter here. So we can pop in here, grab out a stack of paper, give it some. I should have prepared this. Whoops, there we go. And I'll probably get a jam if I don't take out some of the extras. And this one does not give you paper jam errors, unfortunately. There's going to be video evidence of me jamming this thing all over the internet soon. All right, there we go. Let's see if it prints. This guy's a little bit noisy, but my headset mic may or may not pick it up.
Solidarność.
So the thing that you're not seeing, because we don't actually have this thing loaded up with ink, is that you can have a chase with all of your movable type. And you take that chase and you put it up in here behind the plate. And these rollers up here roll ink down the plate and then press the paper up against the plate, and you end up with printed copies over here.
It's completely analog?
Pretty wild.
Okay.
Over here, since obviously if you have a LaserJet, you need a copy of Microsoft Word. So this is probably about as old as Microsoft Word, maybe WordPerfect. We have a linotype, because if you had to write something in, say, the 1400s, you'd be using a Gutenberg press. But these guys, just, here's D for demo, right? Let's see if I can even, can I get this to focus? Come on, there we go. Maybe there's the business end of a D, right? So this guy says, actually, I'm not aiming at a guy, so let's aim this at a book. Ottmar Mergenthaler decides that he wants to move to a land of great opportunity. Maybe we were a land of great opportunity, I'm not sure, but he moves to Baltimore, which is where I'm at, and decides to invent this. He loads up 1,400 of these, which, there we go. Try and get this in the light so that you can see. Here's an L, and here's the business end of an L. So he loads 1,440 of these into a magazine like this one, or this one, and has a typeface. And if you flip this open, you can see that there's this track, and there's no magic here on the keyboard. Hitting a character on here, this just lines directly up with the path that the letter should take. So the releases are all offset so that, all of the releases are separate. So you'll hit a character, and it'll slide down and end up in here. Eventually, you finish typing a line of type, and then you hit the carriage return right here, which is moving this. When you hit it fully, your letters will go up, over, and down into this. Assuming that I had turned this on maybe an hour and a half ago, which I did not because I was not awake, I'm sorry. This is a pot of molten tin and lead. Very healthy. Sometimes used as an energy drink here in the US. So your letters have moved and traveled and gone over here, and they're all compressed together, kind of looking like this. The lead is injected into the back of the letters, and then an arm up here comes down and magnetically picks up the letters and returns back up here and pushes them onto a moving sort queue. While that's happening, these slugs here you can see some printed. Let's see if we can kind of get a good angle. There you go. One of those comes out of the front of the machine right here. And these guys, if you look at this right here, I'm asking a demo party, so this is really a dumb question. Please don't think I'm trying to talk down to you. How many bits in a byte? 8. How many notches on this? On one side, there are also 8. So it's possible that in 1886, this guy accidentally invented ASCII, and then we forgot about it for a very long time. When I joke with people that actually know about computers, I say, well, maybe he invented, EBCDIC, the IBM equivalent, or something else. But anyway, a fascinating machine. So all of these characters will, because of those notches, automatically fall down back into the cartridge in the place that they belong so that you can go on to type something else. In the meantime, you can do some pretty fascinating things with this, including, here's a story of the linotype typed on our linotype. And you can see that we've added a border. Well, that's pretty easy to do, but maybe this should be a good time for a no borders demo joke. But you can see that everything is perfectly justified on both sides. We did not compute or do anything mathematically. The machine did that automatically. And also that multiple fonts are supported. You can even see the knob.
Is the cost
which says,
because of lead?
So because the lead is mixed with tin, it's not poisonous per se, unless you touch it a lot and start licking your fingers. But I'm sure that someone that spent a lot of time with this machine might have a little bit of lead in their system. That is their body system,
Hey, Inverse, we have like limited time, so maybe we can skip
no
forward
problem.
to computers.
Here we have some wire recorders on my way out of the room.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Someone want to write a demo for our robot? Oh, wait, actually, I have the demo for the robot. Okay. Say hello to the fish. We have a little pond. We have serial number 1 of a chocolate 3D printer.
Chocolate.
And you think I'm lying about the serial number 1? Maybe you don't. But it just came out. So look that up if you want to 3D print yourself some snacks. We've just finished building a tic-tac-toe exhibit. Here, someone mentioned war games. You can play tic-tac-toe against a pile of relays, if you like.
You are stupid.
It doesn't take much to build a pile of relays. It turns out you can just do it in a choose your own adventure book. But perhaps a smarter machine, if we want to talk about stupid machines, here's a stupid machine that ends up being smart and works just like Facebook advertising. This is called Menace, which is the first, at least that we know of, documented AI tic-tac-toe. And instead of AI with a computer, it's AI with matchboxes, or we built it into toolboxes. So look up Menace. It is spelled like so. Anyway, I have a whole other museum in the other room. Does Xenium have any attendees from Russia?
No, we don't.
I was going to say they're probably all at Chaos Constructions this year, huh? But perhaps someone can write a demo for this. And you might think I'm joking, but there are plenty of Electronica BK demos out there, so maybe they'll be compatible with my PDP-11. I'm not sure. A variety of mini computers.
Sorry, inverse question from the audience.
Sure.
Sorry if I missed something. Do you have an ancient Atari computers?
We do have some ancient Atari computers. Let's see. Most of my Atari stuff is out. Well,
What was this
would
red
be my.
one?
You want to. This guy right here? This is also red, kind of a dark red. Have you heard this name?
Doesn't ring
These
a bell at all.
These are supercomputers. The most famous one is a tower with a couch around it. So for all the sofa sceners, they can sit on their computer while it plays demos. That's how that works, right? So I can actually open this machine. Sorry, I know we're getting away from the Atari question. Here is a machine that you pour liquid coolant into so that it stays cool. The entire machine is made out of aluminum so that it acts as a heat sink. And actually, it still doesn't stay cool, so we have pipes that the coolant is sent out of when it gets too warm, and cold coolant is pumped into the machine. It requires a lot of power, though, so we don't really turn it on much. We would probably have to ask our neighbors to turn their buildings off if we didn't want to cause a problem with the power grid. So this machine was popular in 1992. Unfortunately, it's about as powerful as everyone's cell phone in the room. And by everyone's cell phone, I just mean one of the cell phones in the room. It's maybe the speed of a Core 2 Duo, something like that. However, it does have a lot of I/O. So the amount of data throughput is very high, even if the machine itself is not very powerful. These remained in use at the NSA, which stands for No Such Agency, until the late 90s. They had about, I think, 100 of them in operation at one point. Next to it, since I think this might have been the one that caught someone's eye and asked, what is the red machine? Both of these are Cray machines. This one is an air-cooled model rather than liquid-cooled. The air-cooled Crays were a little bit less reliable. They actually have temperature fault lights. And the giant red button is, if anytime you want to deduct $10,000 from your bank account, you just hit this button. And it'll go into auto shut off, and a technician will be called, and they'll have to come and help you get your computer back up and running. But it turns out, even though this has a 9-track tape drive in the side, it's not actually a very bad-looking machine, and you can see that we have, things like Ethernet, and a console port, and a printer port, and SCSI ports, and that sort of thing.
Does it has a 9-pin joystick port?
Well, we've got some ports that we might be able to adapt. I was thinking that maybe we'd try to plug a joystick into the alarm ports, even though it only has 3 wires. Or maybe we can adapt a joystick for RS-422. That's actually probably much more likely. So many of the Atari computers that I have are not out. But maybe I can make a joke and say, here is one of my 16-bit Ataris. Hopefully someone gets that. Can I get a shout? Everyone knows what to say, right? So, but so many of these machines do turn on, which is a bonus. I'm sorry about any sync issues that you might be experiencing on the stream. And for some reason, next to my Commodores, by the way, I have luggable computers. This was actually my first machine. I don't know if anyone ever used a compact portable. They're just like a K-Pro, if you've ever seen one of those, except it's actually a PC. The keyboard folds into the machine, so you can actually... But
did you actually carry it around with you?
I did. I actually used it as a portable machine. No battery, though, so you still had to plug it in wherever you ended up.
Whoa. Respect.
And I was like 10 years old carrying it around, too, so, probably resulted in a little bit of muscle. I'm not very buff anymore, but...
Or maybe scoliosis.
Yeah. Anyway, cool machines. I think of all of the luggables, even though I have a place in my heart for the Compact, I think that this Vixen is very cute. And the Hyperion actually doesn't get enough love either. Hyperion and Compaq were the first two companies to break to crack the code with the IBM PC BIOS and make fully compatible machines. And they did so fully through clean room reverse engineering. But Compaq usually just gets the credit and Hyperion doesn't. Hyperion was a Canadian company that had done the same thing.
So this Hyperion is not related to the current Amiga OS Hyperion and all this stuff.
Not that I know, unless there's something secret going on. This is just an old Canadian company that, happened to design a PC at the same time as Compaq. While I'm standing right next to it, has anyone ever written a demo for one of these?
The one to the left of Hyperion, was it K-Pro?
Yes, that is a K-Pro. K-Pro 1. Here, you can...
Show off.
We can kind of... There you go. Some aesthetic...
One question. You shown Wang terminals, but do you have any data point terminals?
I don't think I have data point terminals, or at least not out. But I can check. Hit me after the stream, and I'll look in our... we have an online inventory system, and I can see if maybe... And all of the pictures in our inventory system are of our units, so I'll see if we've gone through and actually inventoried one. So how many people at the party are programmers?
Most.
Have you ever written a demo for one of these? That might be a good idea. It's a calculator. It's not Turing complete, but it does have registers. One thing that we should definitely not leave alone, I don't know how the audio is going to come across, but we have a beta exhibit of something that if anyone goes to MagFest, which was previously mentioned, this will get shown at MagFest in a more complete form. And we can do things like, anyone play this game? This is one of my favorites on the Amiga. Did anyone play it on the Atari ST? Because apparently there was an Atari ST port.
I hear crickets.
So, I don't know how well anyone can hear that. Not really? Here, let me see if I can turn the mic around a little. This is part of the reason I love this game, is the music. But we can actually compare and we can even hear the Atari PSG version.
Is it recorded or emulated or what?
It's just running on this is streaming because it's running on a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
It would be cool if I could emulate it, but it's just not very easy to do and get everything to synchronize so easily. If someone wants to do that, I'm open to it. There isn't a whole lot of magic. The magic is that all of these songs actually line up and play in the same key and did not need much modification. Something like Bubble Bobble, everyone loves cute dinosaur lizards, right?
One important question. Do you have Amiga 1000 with J minor signature inside?
Well, I don't know. There are a lot of signatures in there.
Well, every Amiga 1000 has signatures inside and also J minor.
Yes,
Sorry
Yeah.
for that.
that's fine. It's no problem.
I never get one.
So we can, if the machine weren't, all set up and ready to go, I'd just pop open the lid and, show you that I indeed have his. But let me ask you, we're going to go ahead and turn this off. Let me ask you something that I might be able to show you much easier, and that is, there's this computer company that was really popular in the States, but I don't know if anyone knew about it outside of the States. It's called, I don't know, Granny or, Red Delicious or something like that.
Yeah, kind of.
Someone might have seen this before. It's named after Steve Jobs' not daughter that was actually his daughter, but he wouldn't tell her. But the question is, there was this system that competed with the Amiga. So does anyone know what the GS in Apple II GS stands for? Close? Graphics and sound.
Great sorrow.
Great sorrow. Probably. But it turns out you can pop the cover off of this. I'm going to set my phone down for a second. Since this has... Oh, or can I? This should be easier than it is. Okay, my lid seems to be permanently attached, but there is a WAS signature on the inside of this, much like the Amiga 1000 has signatures inside of it. So these will frequently go up on eBay, and everyone will be like, WAS signature inside, so rare, oh my God, look. Just like an Amiga with J minor's signature, but don't be fooled. But why should I show you an Apple II when I could show you an Apple I? So we could, and why show you an Apple I if I'm not going to turn it on?
Is it
Sure.
original Apple I or one of replicas?
So I have some sad news. This is a replica. But it does work. And we use the PS2 keyboard or, converter. There is one thing that is authentic about this, though. That's a real signature. So that's pretty cool. But I do, and everyone that has an iPhone certainly knows how to use this interface, right? Because Apples are easy. But whoever asked the question if this was real or a replica, I didn't want to let you down. Why don't I just go over here? Here's a real Apple one. This one was not signed by Woz, but so it's probably around at this point that I should mention that I am in charge of the Bloop Museum, but I've been walking you around most of the Maryland Technology Museum, which is a computer museum at a company called System Source. And I don't have the money to own one of these. They do. They have many of the things that you've been seeing today. Certainly several of the things, for example, an Apple II or a 2GS or piles of Macs or a Trash 80 and a PET. These are things that Bloop owns, but since system sources are already out, we don't really put ours out. We just try to make sure that the computers do things that are interesting. For example, this is a game that I would be fighting people to play in elementary school. Has anyone been to Oregon? I hear Portland is there. But don't worry, you're not traveling to Portland when you play the Oregon Trail.
Some of us tried, but they died out of dysentery.
Excellent. Well, at least you did it the right way. Anyway, we do have this Apple I. It is not signed by Woz. We do have an Apple II. It is signed by Woz. I have good and bad feelings about Apple. I don't like the way the company was run, but I think Woz is a genius. The backstory, how many people were originally starting Apple? Does anyone know the real answer?
3.
Correct. Most people ignore this guy, Ronald Wayne. But there he is. And we also happen to have, this is perhaps a strange artifact, the paperwork where Ronald Wayne said, "I'm leaving Apple." So kind of interesting and fun. I'm still waiting for a demo for any of these machines. Can someone please get on that?
Do you have any of the Power Challenge stuff or something like that?
I'm sorry, which?
You know, the large ones like Power Challenge.
Oh yeah, like the Origin or. So I don't have any of that out. We did walk past an Altix in the other room. But the Altix is, I think for a demo platform or even just for a weird retro computer, the Altix is probably pretty boring since it's Intel. It almost became Intel outside, as in we literally put it outside. Some interesting machines that actually, someone's probably seen this machine, but not in silver.
Yes, they're nice. One question, if you don't mind. Actually, you said that we should write demos for these machines. So we did, as you said. We have it on paper, the same as Woźniak did. He wrote this in his school book. But you need to borrow us some machines so we can test it before release. So when can
I don't know. I don't know that I can get them to Xenium. Could you bring the demo here?
It would be easier to just send some stuff to us. No problem. We will take good care of it.
You just set up a connection between the Poland and United States, and we can do this remotely.
Yeah, well, we could do a remote entry. Just put the machine online, and we do have several old things that we have put online. For example, this is on the internet. I don't know how to call Poland on it because Americans don't know how to dial international calls on a rotary phone. But anyway, if anyone, and we have a Superman outfit here just in case I need to wear it while I'm making a phone call. Perhaps an interesting little thing, since when we went by the modems, everyone was all about this. Phones for someone. So this phone has an interesting button. Would anyone like to have a Google Meet at about 2 frames per or 1 frame per 2 seconds? We could even aim this phone at one of the SGIs and try to, live stream the demo over the video phone. I'm sure that would be perfect. Looks like frame rate has gone down to 0.2 or maybe 0.1. So I can hang up this phone and then call myself back. This time I'm not going to go into video mode. I'm going to use these phones instead, which share the same phone line. So these guys you would actually plug into your existing phone, and right now you're just looking at yourself. Hey! But we can do something interesting. Right here we have some buttons on the phone. Freeze, monitor, send, quick, normal. So let's see how fast we can get an image from the other phone to this phone. It is not fast. So we can actually press the quick button if we want it to operate more quickly. And then what we get instead is portrait instead of landscape. It just cuts off the edges. Interesting. If you were alive in 1964, you might have gotten to see one of these. This guy does not work. We could sure use a second one to try and plug it into and get it working, but you can see pictures of people using them from the past. I think this image on the left is probably superimposed, but this one is probably real. You can see that she's using the most important feature of the phone, which is the video feature, and she's using it by looking away. We also have important information on how to talk on the telephone. I think that this might become useful again after the pandemic. And here's an advertisement for the video phone we were using. It turns out they're very cheap. Only $1,600 or $1,450 if you buy 2. But the coolest thing is that it works over standard copper, so the modem is in the phone, there's no internet connection required. That's from 1992. And these guys were actually from the 80s, 1988. Shout out to who asked me about war games. Because how about instead of showing you a screenshot from the movie, I show you this. Well, I don't have wires coming out of it. And I don't have Matthew Broderick or Ali Sheedy here, but I have the most important part. The action on these toggles is very nice. I eagerly await your IMSI or Altair demos. Anyone, greets?
We have a lot of Altair demos.
Do we
Intros.
have a Kaka in the audience, or maybe tuned into the stream?
Who?
I heard when I came in Chiphead playing.
Yeah, yeah. KK is in the audience.
Oh yeah, sorry, I said it not in English. So you've seen the majority of this room. Oh, we do have an interesting curiosity here. Has anyone seen the meme about aliens?
Yeah? What's that?
So that is George from the History Channel on Ancient Aliens saying that we couldn't possibly have been, the humankind was not intelligent enough to do certain things, so aliens had to, bring things to Earth. Reportedly, as the legend goes, aliens dropped their GPS off.
How much it weighs?
So this is not the original artifact, and it weighs significantly less than the original because it is built out of wood instead of metal gears that have corroded at the bottom of the ocean for 2,000 years. I can, lift this, no problem. But the original probably weighs quite a bit more. This is actually cast in metal and, has much more heft than this. But the original write-up about stuff like this, and the original Aliens guy is Eric von Daniken. Has anyone heard of him?
Yeah, it was very popular in Poland in some time. I have one question, actually. Do you have any special wall or place for any old types of diskettes, magnetic tapes, and data source?
We do. How about this right here?
Oh, nice. Can you describe what is it? Because part of the people even didn't see it. I guess.
Well, I think that the most interesting one that many people have not seen, except in pictures, and well, I guess you're looking at a picture now, right? But is this right here, which is drum storage.
It looks like Megatron or something.
Yeah, something straight out of a sci-fi movie. So the drum storage, I'm going to spoil it because I know we're running out of time, has as much storage space as this.
Sure.
So it is 2 megs, and this is from the 50s and 60s. The interesting thing about drum storage is, unlike a spinning hard disk, which has a needle that moves across the disk and has multiple platters, this still has multiple platters. I'm turning sideways, I'm sorry, up and down the hard drive. But the biggest difference is that the heads do not move. So in the earliest version, we have just a spinning can, like an aluminum can or a tin can or whatever. So not even platters.
Oh.
And the needles are stationary, and each one of these is a control board for a needle that just fetches data off of a disk surface and it spins. Eventually, we had the idea to maybe turn that into platters, and eventually we would move the needles in and out of the disk more like this. And I think this guy might spin up. Maybe not. Do I need to give it a little nudge? But the needle on here moves up and down. This is a mini scribe out of a Mac, but most needles would move across. Who had, gosh, is it a Spectrum Plus 3 that has a quick disk drive?
Okay.
Here's a quick disk, but it has an interesting logo on it. I think this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is 3 inches, yes?
Yeah, or 2.8 the other way.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. We have a rewritable optical or a magneto-optical. So that's actually a CD in there.
I remember it was advertised, but it was not popular at all, actually. Maybe in companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a 2-inch floppy disk. It's quite cute. And for scale, I don't have a banana, but my hands are pretty small. So that gives you an idea of really just how small this is. Has anyone seen a compact flash card before?
Not sure.
Has anyone, or perhaps one with a hard drive inside?
And a special machine which uses this?
Anything that can use compact flash uses it.
Like iPods, for example, had very similar one and 8-inch.
This would be the...
Exactly.
So there's out of an iPod, very similar, very small. Just whenever we needed lots of space in a small space. This is the newest thing on the wall, probably. Haha. We have 8-inch floppy disks.
Hi, Inverse, it's Boris here. You are at
Hey.
9 a.m., 10 a.m., sorry. So a bit of time for grand finale, right?
Sure.
Show us the best of the best.
I've ignored this until the very end on purpose. The coolest machine we have is probably the computer that ran the Apollo and Gemini space missions. Not the computer, but one of the computers. They had 6. A UNIVAC 490. Here's the RAM. It's core memory. So I'm sure several programmers have seen segmentation fault, core dumped. They're talking about this. In fact, the machine has a lot of core memory. I don't know how well you can see that there, but there are several wafers of core memory, and there are 4 quadrants. So if you look at this core, there would be 4, right? And then there are 2 stacks of core. So, oh yeah, that's a better shot. I should have done that one. So you can see that there are, layers and layers of core memory. So this machine has somewhere around, I believe it is 80 or 96K of RAM. It's from the 50s. It was in operation in the 60s. Does anyone want to tell me where the CPU is?
I guess it doesn't have any CPU, it's just discrete logic.
Or, yes, it is the CPU. So there's the inside. And here is your discrete logic. And every good CPU in the world has traces connecting all of the logic and the gates and the transistors, right? So here it is.
Tidy.
I like to make cable management jokes right about now, but actually it does look like they tried a little bit.
But the majority is white.
Yes. And here's a print article about the machine from when it was in operation. It turns out it's supposed to look like that, so maybe I can use that as my wiring diagram. One of our curators, the guy that runs System Source, he would like to get this working as his retirement project, he says.
And he's now in his 20s, right? Okay.
So
Invest, it's really
that's
cool. It's really cool. Thank you for this tour. If you have something like for the last 60 seconds to show us, please do this now.
This is a 25-bit modem. and an 18-bit machine. Actually, I didn't show you the control panel of the UNIVAC, so here is the 490's control panel. The only things I didn't really show you is we have a tribute to Acorn. If anyone from the UK is watching, yes, we have a BBC Micro. Yes, it works. And perhaps if anyone is tuned in from online and is just kind of wowed at all of this computer history, one last piece of computer history. Here is an Acorn A3010. Even if you don't know what this machine is, you might be watching this video stream on something with an ARM CPU that is system on a chip. The ARM 250 was the first system on a chip ARM, and now it's in a computer.
Okay, that's great, Inverse Face. That was a great tour. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you for having me.
We know it's only morning in US, so please stay tuned on our stream because we are going to start cheap music competition now.
Excellent. I'll see you soon. If anyone has questions, just ask me on the demo scene Discord. I'm around. Thanks again.